Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers.
That's us.
This is a podcast. It's
Yeah.
two queer trans women. That's us having wifey catch up on media times.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Prolonged sounds of screaming. How are you?
Yeah, the bleak alarm sure be going off. It sure is happening.
Bleak. Bleak, 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 bleak.
Really got to change the batteries in that thing.
No, that's just how it sounds now.
It's just doing that now.
Yep.
Oh,
How was your day been? Week been?
It's sure been. It's sure been. But we've done some media stuff. We've distracted ourselves with things out in the world this week.
We've mediated.
Yeah, some of those are things we've played. Should we talk about some of those things we've played?
Tell us about a thing you played.
I'll start by talking about I've been playing Yooka and the Impossible Lair.
This is the side-scrolling 2.5D.
Yeah.
Not the one they kickstarted.
Yeah, so Yooka just by itself is a game made by a bunch of ex-people from Rare, the people that made Banjo-Kazooie, trying to make a new 3D Banjo-Kazooie alike. And there are elements of it that kind of hit the mark. There's, I from what I remember from when I played it, I remember Trouser the Snake, who had one eye and was a trouser snake. There was a sense of humour in some character design where I was like, yeah, okay, I feel what you're going for. The game just didn't really click.
No.
It did not capture the feel of those old games, and neither did it capture the authentic feel of them, nor did it move the genre forward in a way that felt like it was something new adding to it.
Yeah, I kickstarted this. I think it was the first thing I ever kickstarted, and I found it... Firstly, it took way longer than they said it was going to.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Video games should take all the time they need. But when it came out, it was... Firstly, it didn't run on a lot of systems. It was not well optimized. When I finally did get it running, firstly, the levels felt too big.
Yes, everything was far too spread out.
They were trying... There was a lot packed into them, but it did feel like here is a piece of a thing, and here is a piece of a thing, and over there is another piece of a thing.
It failed to capture what I think worked about Banjo-Kazooie specifically as a collectathon, which was because it was such small and dense environments, you could methodically 100% an area before going on and feel like you'd done everything. And there wasn't that easy ability to I have done a portion of the game and I'm moving on feeling, because it was the areas were much bigger in a way that wasn't serving the design.
Well, not just that, just the fact that by virtue of the size of things, it just felt like there was too much going on, full stop. And then, as I was saying, it's here is one thing, here is another thing, and I guess you can kind of see some of that in some of Banjo-Kazooie, the first Banjo-Kazooie, the only one I've played. In Rusty Bucket Bay, you've got the ship, the exterior of the ship itself. You've got the interior of the ship. You've got the Nautilus crab thing on the beach, and then you've got the whole flying track around the edge.
Yeah.
And then, the first level I vaguely remember from Yooka, you've got, a tall thing to climb up, and then, a different shaped tall thing to climb up somewhere else. A sort of little assault course thing.
Yeah.
It felt very sort of random bits and pieces, and not tied thematically well enough together.
Yeah. So, needless to say, neither of us got on great with Yooka despite wanting to.
Yeah.
Yooka and the Impossible Lair, as we mentioned, is a side-scrolling platformer, and I'm getting on much better with it than actual Yooka for a few reasons, but I'll give you the general premise first. You are initially thrown into a near impossible, very hard final level of a platformer, and you go through this level with there's this queen who's a bee, and she's given you this sort of armor made out of all her little bee soldiers that is basically making you invincible, so you can run through this very difficult level. And the villain, he's got a magic wand that can mind control bees, and he's stolen your protective shield of little bee saviors. And now the Impossible Lair is pretty much impossible because it is designed to be a very an impossibly hard level. and you no longer have this layer of defense to you.
True enemy was neonicotinoids all along.
So you're thrown out. And the idea is you go around all these 2D side-scrolling levels to collect bees to rebuild your sort of armor of bees, so that when you tackle the impossible lair, every level you've completed is a hit you can take in the impossible lair.
Right.
So the more of the game you complete, and the more levels you do, and the more completionism you do, it allows you to sort of go back to that impossible lair with a larger and larger degree of, I can get hit this many times and still make it to the end. Now, in theory, apparently it is possible if you are just really incredibly fucking good at the game to just do the impossible lair. Just, you don't technically need these defensive things, but it's designed to be kind of like old arcade games where there's a little bit of cheapness designed to... You're gonna take some cheap hits. To be like, you go do the game so that you can survive a few cheap hits along the way, so you can come back to that final level.
Is there a different ending if you can boss it and get through it in one go?
I believe I've seen at some point that there is. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's the case. But yeah, so going back through, I think one of the things that makes this work a lot better is it is really laser focused on just being one thing. Yeah. It's not trying to be a little bit of everything. This is a very good feeling 2D platformer with a bunch of hidden levels, things in levels. Every level has like 5 of these special coins to find that can help you unlock new areas of the game. You don't need to find all of them by any means, but you need to find an amount of them to progress as you go along. There are these little pickup quills that you can use for unlocking new areas or little mods you can do to your character that can do things from, hey, big head mode, to maybe you get extra chances at life, and certain things won't kill you as quickly, and like little modifiers you can sort of apply to have a better time with the game.
Okay.
That sort of unlock through exploring, which is kind of nice. One of the big gimmicks is there's this sort of overworld between the levels. Like each level is like a little storybook placed in this overworld.
Okay.
And you can make changes to the overworld that will sometimes change the world state of a level, and then you go back and revisit a level and it's different now.
Nice.
An example of this, you could divert a river so it goes a different way and now it's running over a storybook, and you go into the storybook and there's now a whole bunch of water in that level, and it's a different version of the level. Or you do some little side quest in the overworld to get honey spilt on a book, and you go into the honey-covered version and now there's sticky walls you can climb up. And it's an interesting way of squeezing more variety out of revisit a level, but there's something mechanically unique about it. Things I like, I think that the 3D platforming moveset of Yooka and Laylee as a pair of characters is really nice. I think that like it particularly works well in 2D. You've got like the way that your double jump feels, and you can do sort of like a roll into a jump for extra momentum, and there's lots of keep you moving in a very satisfying flow kind of bits to the moveset that are nice. I like that basically at all times you've got one hit worth of protection from a game over, which is the first time you take a hit, your little bat flies off, and if you can jump and get the bat before the bat flies off, you've got that one hit of armor back on you.
You've got that one ring you can recover quickly.
Yeah, so it's basically like you can take a hit, and as long as you can go get the bat back before it flies off, you've regained that one hit of defense. Good amount of checkpointing, like very good dense checkpointing. It's just a fun side-scrolling platformer that keeps a lot of the character that they were good at doing in there. Like you have your interactions with Trouser the Snake is back and this, that, and the other, and sometimes like, oh, I need to get past here, but there's a big wall that's a living character and I'm having a silly conversation with to try and work out how I'm going to get him out the way so I can do what I want to do. And you get those little doses of character, but they're not getting in the way of what is largely just a very fun to play 3D platformer.
No.
I'm having a really good time with it.
I'm glad.
It's nice to be enjoying so much something that came out of Yooka-Laylee.
That's Platonic, right?
Yeah, Platonic.
Have they done anything else?
I don't know. I know that they've published other things under their Platonic Friends publishing label, which is they're publishing other indie stuff. And I know that they're doing a big, shiny remaster remake of the original Yooka-Laylee at the moment, Yooka Replaylee.
Right.
I don't know what else they've done, if I'm honest.
Okay. Are they going to make it better?
I mean, it's sure looking shinier. I don't know if it'll be better. We'll wait and see.
Okay.
Well, what about you? What have you been playing?
I have spent most of my free time this week playing Satisfactory.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I have. I played this, gosh, a while back. It was still in early access, and I got to a point where I was just like, this is bending my brain and eating too much time, and I don't really have the brain for it anymore. So I walked away, and then sometime recently I was like, I want a crunchy engine builder.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I love an engine builder.
Yeah. Make thing happen and repeatedly do and be satisfying.
Yeah, and what if I could just do that? And you know how I'm always saying in engine building board games that like they always feel like they end a bit swift, and I don't get to enjoy my engine as much. What if I just built the biggest fucking planet-wide engine?
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying it more. I picked a different start location. I think I picked the like default easiest suggested starting position. This time I went with the desert. Mm-hmm. Which is wider and flatter, which is convenient for building stuff on. Mm-hmm. It's quite near some good veins of like pure veins of iron and things like that, and cerium, I think it is. Whatever the yellow one is. I've basically got back to about the level I was previously, but in a way that is sort of probably better thought out and better organised. I feel like it's one of those games that like you do have to be like willing to like rip the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
It's you've got to be okay with the fact that you might get the urge a ways in to go, I now know so much better how to do this. I'm going to delete my file, start a fresh file, and do it right this time because I've learnt how do.
Not even just that, but like just like I need to rip this entire factory apart and build a new one. Like 3 meters to the left, and I need it to be like way more organised and have this, and that, and I need to go about this thing because it's not like you use up the resources in this game. Like you find a node and it will keep churning out stuff, which never really becomes a problem because I think the only thing you can't recycle is plutonium waste, which is like one of the very latest game bits that I've never even got to. So it doesn't matter. But I've just built a new steel factory. I'm bringing all the steel back to my main base, and I am working on what do next because it feels like I need to do a bit of exploring. But I've basically struggled a bit to like work out where to go. I'm currently trying to find a piece of raw quartz. I got really near it. I ended up like Googling it. It turns out that this looks like it's supposed to be the easiest to find on a map, but it is probably one of the hardest. And there is a secret cave entrance somewhere that I need to get to, and I will also need like a gas mask and a bunch of other stuff, which I don't have yet. So I guess I'll just find different quartz, I suppose. But yeah, I'm enjoying where I am with it at the moment. I am probably about halfway through the main like tier lists of things to unlock. So I am excited to see what to do next and what else I can uncover, and I'm determined not to get too frustrated this time. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I've been continuing to do Cooking Mama and Babysitting Mama speedrunning stuff.
And now you've got the pro strats of getting a different region version.
I mean, I'll get that one out the way quickly. So I haven't submitted any more speedrun times for Babysitting Mama, but I have now received my North American copy of Babysitting Mama, which... There's so many weird little differences between the versions. The UK one is called Cooking Mama World Babysitting Mama, and the American one's just called Babysitting Mama. Apparently in America they weren't trying to do Cooking Mama, the overarching brand, as a thing. But I've got my North American copy now, and it is definitely faster to speedrun. It loads faster, it plays faster, everything is faster about it. My only logic is like, it running faster during the minigames, I get. Sometimes this happened back in the day with PAL versus NTSC games when they didn't code to account for the TV difference. You would sometimes just have game runs slower in the UK. and that was just a thing. The loading difference is interesting, and the only thing I can think of is it something to do with that there's several more languages on the European version?
Could be.
Maybe that's it. And, like, the voice files aren't organised in a good way, so it's doing a lot more searching around to find the right region on the disc to find, say, the English language file.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's it. That's my only real guess. It's having looked at ROMs for the game online out of curiosity, trying to work this out.
How is this built?
Yeah. The UK version is like 1.6 gigs, whereas the US version's like 700 megabytes. So there's like a big size difference between the two.
Because I guess the American or the US ones probably got, English, Spanish, Portuguese, maybe?
Maybe, but I don't know if that's enough to justify the size difference. It's weird. I would love to know something about this game's development, but I did a test run on a lunch break to go, is this going to be faster? I didn't bother recording it. I should have recorded it. I went from being about 4 minutes behind the record to about 14 seconds ahead of the record. So,
nice.
The Yuto single baby any % run, very achievable for me to beat that record. I will get to it, but I'm in the midst of Cooking Mama Cookstar right now.
Especially now that your anime rival is back.
You got to the punchline. I was going to build up to it, but yeah, I've been doing my Cooking Mama Cookstar runs, and I was getting somewhere. I was like, I'm making good progress. At least once per Twitch stream I've done, I've claimed another record. Down to 3 records, maybe 2 or 3 records left. To claim to have first place in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then who should pop up in my Twitch chat?
Dum, dum.
But my anime rival, who, back in the day, we were speedrunning the game back and forth, and, I didn't speedrun this game for 3 years, because the sensible place to speedrun it on was PS5, and my anime rival did not have a PS5. So I stopped speedrunning the game, because I'm like, it's not gonna be fun to do this if we're not competitive. And after 3 years, I went, it's fine. It's been long enough. I've given enough of a grace period. I'm going to get back into speedrunning this. The literal same week, my anime rival was like, I got a PS5 now. I'm here. I'm like, well, here goes my plans of trying to get first in everything all at once.
Well, I mean, it's hard when you're being, it's all being announced on speedruns at the same time.
That's it. Even if I wasn't streaming them, Val has undoubtedly spent the last week getting notifications going, someone's beaten your record, it's Laura beat your record.
I like to imagine that Val was sitting in a dark room and only lit from in front, and we just sort of see a silhouette, and there's just pop-ups and notifications just Urgh.
So my plan had been get back to a point where I have first in all of the Cookstar records and then go back to Babysitting Mama and get the records over there.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I don't know how viable going and getting all of the first place on Cookstar is going to be, because there's going to be someone competing to take them back. So I'm gonna do the runs that I haven't yet gone for and set a good time in them, and then I'm gonna go back and do the Babysitting Mama speedruns. Currently, there's no one competing with me over there. That being said, people are interested in getting into it. There's my favourite thing about the conversations that have been going on the last week or so is people have started looking for copies of Babysitting Mama with the plush baby to start speedrunning. And a couple of them have been like, I can find copies of the game, fair enough, but one with the baby is a little trickier to get. And it doesn't feel right to be doing it with just a Wiimote. And I suggested to them,
Build-A-Bear.
Yeah, I was like, look, it doesn't have to be the baby. I think it would be fucking hilarious to watch someone doing a speedrun of this where it's you went to Build-A-Bear and got a little plush Shadow the Hedgehog, and you're doing gotta feed Shadow his milk.
His feed milk.
Yeah, I think that would be a beautiful thing to foster in the Babysitting Mama speedrun community. Is everyone comes to the speedrun with their own unique. Yeah, what baby are you looking after in the speedrun?
Mm-hmm.
So that. I might have some competition over there soon. There's definitely people who are looking for what's the funniest thing I could put a Wiimote in to be the baby that I look after. I think the funniest one we got to while chatting about it on stream was find a Cooking Mama plush. She is the baby.
She isn't the baby now.
She is the baby now. You babysit the mama.
Turns out Cooking Mummy's a little.
So... yeah, that's how being speedrunning Mama is going. Which apparently that's what I've been called out like 4 times this week as, I'm enjoying your speedrunning mama arc.
That's you.
That's me. How about you? You been playing anything else?
Not really. We played some more Deep Rock Galactic, the board game.
Mm-hmm.
We got absolutely trounced.
Mm-hmm.
We
won. We got through.
We did get very heavily beaten though, and you didn't make it out alive.
You got out alive. We technically had a victory.
I know, but I don't have to feel good about it when we didn't both come home alive. It was a combination of things, and I've been thinking about this a little bit recently because people on Blue Sky brought up like what is a good video game to board game conversion or board game to video game conversion.
Yeah,
and it was mentioned that like Deep Rock Galactic was one of the mentioned. I was like, yeah, I agree with that because I think it does a good job of capturing the vibe of the game itself, and then also like there's just enough randomness in like the hidden cave setups and like where the event deck is, how the event deck is shuffled and how the swarm deck is shuffled to what is going to happen. Are you going to end up with fighting a Praetorian? Is it going to be like, because we had the bulk detonator, a Praetorian, the Corlock Tyrant Weed. We had the Needosite Breeder that just constantly fucked us and ate all of our ammo throughout the game. We had a lot going on.
We did, yeah.
And it felt like it was constantly like, okay, I'm out of ammo, I need to refill. Okay, we're running out of things to get more ammo out of. We weren't getting any health in our ammo crates. So every time one of us died, the other one had to just sort of pick up and go, there's 1 HP, good luck. Yeah, it's a great game. It's able to be quite tense. So we did, I'm not sure what mission number it was, but it was one of the mixed missions. So it was using the ice biome stuff from the biome expansion and the space rig expansion. We were doing a liquid morkite refinery mission. So we managed to connect all the pump jacks eventually, and managed to get through the pumping system. And at one point we had almost one of everything out on the board. There was a lot going on. I don't think I've ever had to get that many minis out of the box.
It was a lot.
And then basically we had just finished the liquid refinery. You went down. I was planning to come and rescue you on my turn. And then a stingtail grabbed me and pulled me most of the way towards the exit.
Yes, and you weren't going to be able to run to me and run back because you'd been pulled away from me. It's like, well, gotta go for it now.
I might as well just leave, Sars. Bye.
You did the right thing. You did the correct thing.
I don't have to feel good about it, but yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying.
I feel good about the fact you did it.
I'm enjoying like having played like more of those modules because that has been a good thing. Like we played through the base game. We played all the base missions, then all the expansions showed up, and we haven't quite managed to get through everything in those expansions just yet. But yeah, we've been dipping in here and there to various missions. We've also taught it to a couple of people, which has meant we've sort of gone back and done earlier stuff.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think it's been nice to play, and also it's really nice to see them all painted as well. Makes it way easier to track than lots of grey on a board. But yeah, still very much enjoying Deep Rock Galactic, the board game. We're feeling very good about that particular purchase.
Yeah.
What about you? What else have you been playing?
Not a lot. It's mainly been speed running and Yooka-Laylee. The other video game adjacenty thing I'll talk a little bit about here is I'm working on a project with someone, and part of that has involved I got to test my hands on roughly the size and shape of what that Switch 2 is going to feel like.
Yes.
And that has been an interesting little tidbit of the week. I have through various means come into possession of what I am told is a very accurate model of the Switch 2, and it's interesting. My big takeaway is it is still really thin.
Yes.
for a device that has a screen larger than that of the Steam Deck, it feels overall smaller, and it feels like it would be a lot easier for me to justify traveling with.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than, as much as I love the Steam Deck, it is that additional thickness. It can be comfortable for holding, but it does mean that it takes up like quite a large volume when you want to put it in a bag. The switch to maintaining like an overall very thin profile does make it something I could much easily slip into a bag and feel like it's not taking up the whole bag.
Yeah, and those Joy-Cons also feel way more manageable for my hand size.
Yeah.
I always, I couldn't play long sessions with my Switch until I got the cases for the
Yeah,
Joy-Cons,
your little grips.
because they just feels too small in my hand, and I end up really clawed.
Yeah.
And it's not good for my already terrible hands.
That increase in size definitely helps. It definitely feels like you're holding more of a traditional complete controller size thing.
Yeah.
Definitely helps a little for turning it sideways as well to feel a little better sized for if you're doing sideways single Joy-Con. The C button or the mysterious unlabeled button in their trailer, definitely not in a position that you're going to be pressing it comfortably during play.
No, it's very much in the same vein as the home button and the
even more
snapshot
so.
button.
It's even further
down. Yeah,
it's definitely whatever that button ultimately does is definitely every now and then you're going to press it, not in the midst of a boss fight you're pressing it kind of button.
Yeah.
Other than that, the main takeaway I've had is, so the 3D printed model I currently have doesn't have magnets in any magnets attached. I might try and find some cheap magnets to stick to it to have a look. But the thing that I'm finding surprising is how well, even without magnets to hold the Joy-Cons sideways plugged in, it doesn't feel like the screen's just going to fall off. It doesn't feel like the whole thing's going to fall apart by not having magnets. The Joy-Cons are plugging far enough into the sides with enough of them in that just naturally the thing holds together decently.
Yeah.
It's changed in my mind how I think about the presence of magnets in that final design. To the job of the magnets really feels like it's going to be primarily to, if you hold the thing and turn it sideways while holding just the screen, Joy-Con not fall off.
Yeah, because the fact that it is a block that slots in, it is, as long as you're holding it from both sides.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to hold it by one Joy-Con and let the screen and the other Joy-Con go.
No, but it's certainly not, I'm holding it and feeling like any movement I make is going to make the thing fall apart.
No, by virtue of just slotting in the way they do, they does add a lot of stability.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like it's going to need very strong magnets at all to do the job that it's going to do. The other thing there is I've seen people concerned about the little connector in the Joy-Con rail, going, oh, that's going to be a point of failure, that's going to be a thing that snaps. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are going to be people who buy a Switch 2 and their kid sticks a knife between the Joy-Con rail and the connector and turns it sideways and it snaps. But the same could be said of if you had an N64 cartridge back in the day, someone could do the same, just pry the thing inside. In everyday use, just plugging a Joy-Con in casually, I don't think that's a concern.
I mean, basically, they've just turned the Joy-Cons into cartridges.
Yeah, it's basically you don't have that concern when you plug a cartridge into your console that the sort of strip of metal connectors is going to break, because by the time that the connectors are plugging in, the plastic is already lined up such that the thing will definitely be in the right place. This is the same here. By the time that connector is plugging into the Joy-Con, the Joy-Con rail and the Joy-Con will have lined up such that, you're not going to accidentally break that connector. I think that is not a concern that the average person who doesn't have a child bent on destroying things needs to worry about.
I know someone who's probably not getting a Switch 2.
Yeah. That's everything I've watched this week. That played this week. You played it?
No, that's it for me.
Well then.
Time for this. I'm training to become a sorcerer.
What inspired you? Was it desire to be mighty and powerful?
No, not really.
To do good deeds wherever you go?
Kinda, yeah.
To shape the world to your very will?
Not really, no.
What was it then?
I intend to shit the pants of every billionaire.
Oh.
Constantly, day in, day out.
Oh.
Wherever they go, whenever they sit down, there will be a squelch.
Oh.
Every billionaire, every right-winger, every mask of fascist, constantly full of, just trousers full of shit, unending. Constant nappy rash. It's more than they deserve.
Ouch.
Also might conjure puppies occasionally.
Just occasionally.
Yeah. Not for the billionaires, though.
No.
Unless it's a puppy made of shit. That's very enthusiastic. Hello.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, have you ever wanted to avoid libel?
I've had to take courses and lessons on this for jobs I've done in the past.
Don't do a written say a thing.
Don't do a written say a thing. Don't do a word say a thing. There's a different word for that.
Slander's the other one.
That's the other one. Don't say words that you can't prove that someone might go. That's illegal words.
Exactly. What if there was a system whereby you could type in what you wanted to say, and it would spit out a more legally safe version of that. A libel avoider, if you will.
Oh, I see, yeah.
This week's sponsor is libeltranslate.lol.net.
Oh, okay, let me try it out. Okay, so I'm gonna type in, he clearly did a Nazi salute.
He did.
Yeah, he did. And it's translating, it's popped out, Nazis feel emboldened by what they see as a salute signaling support to them, which he has not distanced himself from. I mean, yes. That is, I suppose, communicating the same thing, I suppose.
Yes, that communicates the same thing, and we're not in any legal trouble.
Not in any legal danger at all.
So that's libeltranslate.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS did nothing wrong, and you can get 15% off your first 3 months of Libel Translate. So if you need to say anything about someone with a lot more money and power than you, say it safely with Libel Translate.
He clearly did, though.
He did, though. So, what have you put in your eyes?
Should we start with what we watched and have been rewatching?
Sure.
Yeah, so we've talked about Severance before.
We did.
Absolutely fantastic show.
Possibly one of the best modern dramas of our time.
Definitely, I would say one of the, maybe the best season finale of a show I've ever seen.
Oh, season 1. Oh, yes.
That whole last 2 episodes of season 1 is so good. For anyone who's not heard us talk about it before, the general idea is that you know how in workplaces there's like NDAs and things because we're working on confidential stuff. We can't have you leaving work and spreading company secrets. What if there was a medical procedure that would physically stop your work self from remembering the outside world and your outside self from remembering things that happen at work?
They turn off your outside brain when you come into work.
You become essentially 2 people, one who only experiences the outside world and one who only experiences work. And some mysterious shit is going on. Gotta solve a thriller mystery.
Yeah, and also, the philosophical point of you've essentially made someone who never feels like they leave work.
Yeah.
They have no experiences outside of that. They have no rest and relaxation time, per se. They just exist to work. And you go into work, and then you come out immediately, and you go about the rest of your experience and life.
Yeah. So, without getting too spoilery, before we get to talking about the season 2 first episode, we've been rewatching season 1 because we watched the first episode of season 2 and went, ooh, thoughts, want to rewatch everything.
Well, also, I had been thinking I would like to rewatch season 1 before season 2 came out, and then we just didn't have time.
Yeah. Rewatching the show has been fascinating. There is a lot of new things we're picking up on, a lot of things that are new theories we're having on a second time around. Even really minor things like noticing how frequently water comes up.
Yes.
Little things that we're not sure what they mean, but when you start looking for them, you go,
What does it mean?
that is way more frequent than I remember it being.
Yeah, like, I don't feel we did a lot of red stringing the first time, but it feels like it is happening more this time.
It feels like we have enough pieces to theorize with.
Also, I think it helps that there is more hype online, because I heard, I think I've watched one video about things that you probably haven't heard of that you should give a watch, because I was never going to watch something on Apple TV.
Agreed.
And it was just like a TikTok listicle of like, here's some series you might try if you liked XYZ. It was like, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give that a look. Gave it a look, and yeah, much like Scavenger's Reign, absolutely loved it, and well recommended those people.
I found out about it because someone uploaded a clip to TikTok in an odd, not correct orientation format of Helly waking up in the boardroom in the first episode.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm gripped. But yeah, at the time, didn't feel like people were talking about it. Whereas this time around, my TikTok feed has been feeding me people people watching season 1. And they've been having ideas that have gotten me thinking about things and looking for new stuff.
Well, I think it helps that, it developed an almost cult status.
Yeah.
I don't think, by virtue of where it is broadcast, a lot of people were really catching it. And then, so it gained a little bit of an underground following. And since then, I know we've told several people about this as a thing to watch.
It's been very high on our list of, ooh, if you've not seen it, this is our top recommend for people.
Yeah. And I can't remember who, somebody with a really freaking huge following on TikTok recently was like, hey people, I like weird TV shows, can anyone recommend it? And I hadn't seen anyone recommend Severance, and I recommend Severance, and I don't think I've had a comment get that many responses just yes, absolutely, you have to watch this thing. It's cool, good, see?
Yeah.
They agree.
So yes, rewatching season 1 has been really interesting for noticing quite how many things are foreshadowed, but in a way that there's no way you could know it was foreshadowing at the time. And you really, even on a second watch, you might not notice it unless, there's some very missable, very interesting details.
There's been lots of little, sub-story bits that I had not remembered at all.
Yeah. Season 2, that first episode, very, very good, dramatic jumping back in, because with how season 1 ended so dramatically and on such a cliffhanger, I think they did a great job of hitting the ground running with season 2.
Because they literally start with a scene of somebody running.
I mean, yeah. But in terms of interesting things that I don't think are too spoilery, we've not seen any of their outies yet, season 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is deliberate, and I'm very curious what that's going to lead to.
That's the term for people outside rather than inside.
The not work self.
Yes.
I think that there is a lot of deliberate misleading of what we're being told and the people in the workplace are being told, and quite how far that stretches is a matter for debate, but I think there's a lot of things that I don't trust as real.
You don't trust the little giant all-powerful corporation that can fuck with people's brains.
I think the fact that they will not show us the outside world yet in season 2 tells me that anything they're telling us about how things went in the outside world, I shouldn't trust any of it.
To be fair, the first season started very sparingly around the outside worlds. We got, the scene of Mark crying in the car.
Yeah.
And then going into work was, pretty much, all we saw for the first few episodes.
Possibly, but if nothing else, every episode we saw at the very least going through the elevator and seeing, the outside become the inside and the inside become the outside. We've not seen any shots of that yet. And that tells me they don't want us to know what emotional state the outside version of these characters are in. They don't want us to so much as see, are they looking like people who had a victory of some kind? Are they looking like people who are absolutely defeated because no one gave a shit? The fact, it's such a staple of the show's visual formatting that they have held back on, it feels deliberate to me. There is a character I do not fucking trust, and I am loving looking for clues about why I shouldn't trust them.
Fair.
Yeah, this show continues to be real interesting.
It's really good. Yeah, it's a good thriller, and I'm ready for more. I'm sad we can't just binge it like the first season.
Yeah, I will say it is up there with Nick Offerman in that one episode of The Last of Us in terms of I'm always a believer that queer roles should be played by queer actors. What's the
Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken in this is one of those actors where I'm almost willing to give a pass and go, you know what, you did such a fucking good job in this role, I will forgive you.
I don't know about the other actor in that relationship.
I don't know about the other actor in that relationship, but
I think they both play it really, really well.
To my understanding, Christopher Walken is straight, and I think he does a fantastic. They're both in that couple do such a cute job. I love them. They're so good. But yes, we were one episode from finishing rewatching season 1 when we sat down to do this, and I'm sure the second we finish this, we'll be rewatching that finale.
Yeah, and maybe even rewatching the first episode of season 2 again. With everything else in mind.
I'm very open to that too. What about you? What you been watching?
We got round to watching the second Lord of the Rings extended movie.
We did, yeah. The Two Towers. The Two Towers.
Yeah. I still very much appreciate the practical effects in that. We were talking about like the orc birthing pods and just the way they managed to make everything look very unpleasant and rubbery in a very organic sense of that whole scene, and all very like the scale is really good. A lot of the effects stand up really well, with the exception of some of the smoke. A lot of the smoke feels really pasted on.
Yeah,
and we were talking particularly about like the opening of that with Gandalf fighting the Balrog under Moria.
Yeah, there's some odd moments where like the Balrog falling should be one of those like, oh, it's a CGI scene in the dark. This should be some of the best looking stuff you can pull off. And it looks worse than, like, the daylight look at the tree ants.
I think the problem is that the Balrog being this thing of, like, smoke and fire worked very well when it was moving quite slowly. But when it's trying to fall quickly, it doesn't feel convincing as smoke and flame. Or at least, like, the flame's fine, but the smoke just doesn't work at all. It doesn't have that sense of movement well enough. And as you say, like, being in the dark, feels like they have every opportunity to, hide any of the sins of that, and it doesn't work super well. But still, it's still quite a spectacular film. Not my favourite, and as a little person I've been following recently on TikTok has pointed out, there was no need for the dwarf tossing.
There was no need for that at all.
There was not. And yeah, like, I always thought it was a weird inclusion. I hadn't put together, like, that it's very specifically about Peter Jackson talking about that particular unpleasant thing. But yeah, it's only, I feel, taken us like 6 months to get to the second one.
We're slowly working through.
We'll get there. The king will eventually return.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's a lot I don't like about it, and I feel like I spent a lot of that film going, this is revisionist. You've just written extra bits in, Peter Jackson. I feel like I hate it less than I hated it when I watched it originally.
I think we both found things that were very interesting about it. I think we found things worth discussion and like, oh, that's an interesting choice they made. Even if there were things worthy of critique, I think we found things that, like, I don't know that I've thought this closely about it in previous viewings, and it was nice to try and find the things that it was doing well.
Yes, and there was a couple of points where I was just telling you about, like, differences, how this thing differs from the books. But, yeah, it was something cozy to watch on my Buffy.
Yeah.
After a nice day of board gaming. What about you? What else have you watched?
I sure watched a film at the cinema today.
You sure did.
I did. I watched a film called Babygirl. And To give context before I describe my viewing of this film, I will give you the proper context, which was the other people in the screening with me, which was entirely women in their 60s or 70s, sat at the back of the room, spaced apart from each other, not near each other. And this is important context, because this is a film about a woman getting into a very ill-advised BDSM relationship with a mid-20s fuckboy.
Yes, she wants to get into a consensual non-consent relationship, and he is an abusive fuckhole.
Yeah.
From what I could tell.
Yeah, so the short version of the pitch is Nicole Kidman is in a 20-year loving, good, nice relationship with Antonio Banderas. They have 2 kids together. She's a CEO. He's not fulfilling her needs in the bedroom. And I think she's doing the very sensible thing at the start of this film, which is wait until he's fallen asleep, go watch some kink videos in the office, and you know,
have a little wank.
Have a little wank, sort yourself out. You know, he's not into the thing you're into, you just go sort yourself out. You've got an otherwise lovely relationship.
Yeah.
But she ends up getting into this very ill-advised relationship with a very young intern at her workplace. And she clearly has fantasies about consensual non-consent, and she's afraid to talk to Antonio Banderas about it because she tries to bring it up once, and he goes, I feel like a villain. I feel like I'm doing something bad. And she backs...
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
I remember that being my first reaction when someone tried to introduce kink to a relationship.
To be fair, it's so... I want to be clear quite how vanilla it is that he's feeling, oh, I feel like a villain for, which is, I want to close my eyes, maybe put the pillow over my face, and then, pretend I don't know who's doing this to me. That level is too much of, oh, I feel like a bad person for doing this for Mr. Banderas.
This is a man who appreciates enthusiastic consent.
Indeed, and this is the thing, is rather than, her having a conversation with Antonio Banderas to be like, hey, I want to reassure you this is playing a character, this is not a reflection on you as a person, this is, rather than that, she just never brings it up again that she has this desire, and then young 20-something fuckboy comes to work at the company and intuits that, he gets the vibe that she's a little bit, that, big powerful CEO, maybe a little bit subby. And I don't know how much of this is he doesn't know what he's doing and how much of this is willful, deliberate manipulation. A little of both, I think, is going on. But he basically encourages her to kiss him once, and then goes... She tries to stop it by saying, there's a power imbalance here, I shouldn't be doing this. Which there is, she shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, I think if anything, the power imbalance is the other way around, because I could just fucking call HR right now and ruin your life and career, so, this is gonna continue. And she's like, ooh, sexy. I can't just, admit that I want consensual non-consent, because, I feel guilty about that. So it's kind of sexy that I'm being forced into the situation. Oh, it's against my will. I don't want to be in a BDSM thing. Oh no!
Ultimately, leading her further into the position of I've done a thing that I shouldn't have done, and HR will be way more pissed.
Yes, because halfway through the film, an hour into a BDSM dynamic having existed, they sit down to have a conversation about I say have a conversation about consent and boundaries. The conversation is you will do everything I say, or I will go to HR and tell them that you did this, and do you consent to that? Which that's not really a position in which you can freely give consent to consensually non-consent in that situation. There has to be no consequences for saying no at the moment where consent is being established at the bare fucking minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So it is this. It's in part this film of person allowing themselves, because during this film I kept thinking of all things about Dragon Age Inquisition, because Dragon Age Inquisition has in my mind one of the best examples of consensual navigation of a BDSM situation that feels very like this. when I was playing Dragon Age Inquisition, I played a female version of the lead character, the Inquisitor, who is like, the weight of saving the world is on her shoulders, all this responsibility on her shoulders, and if you start trying to have a relationship with this character, Iron Bull, he cottons onto the fact that maybe you've got a little bit of subby in you. And he establishes clear ongoing consent like 4 times in the first interaction and gives her like plenty of opportunities to back out, doesn't pressure her. When they sit down and have a conversation, like the next day, he's like, let's set boundaries. First of all, I want to make sure that like, you can still be my boss outside of this room, even if I'm in charge in the bedroom, and that we work out, like, how we navigate that messy dynamic. We just talk about that straight away. I recognize that, hey, you have a lot of pressure on you, and maybe it would be nice for someone else to take charge. Where are the lines of that? Like, at what point, like, where is the boundaries of, like, what amount of being in charge do you want from me? Like, great. This is a film about, like, what happens when you let, like, a 24-year-old fuckboy who does not know what he's doing be in charge of setting. Like, it's not a conversation about where the line is. It's 24-year-old fuckboy who maybe Googled BDSM enough to know the buzzwords to be able to manipulate with them. Goes, I'm the dom. It's very much, I'm the dom, so I'm gonna set the rules.
He's very much the reason that, like, a lot of kink clubs won't let you go into certain areas solo.
Yes. Yeah, it is an interesting film that is very much a film about, like, the dangers of that kind of dynamic where it's, like, fundamentally, I think the thing it highlights is, in a healthy relationship of that kind, the person submitting needs to ultimately, to some degree, still have an amount of control available to them to establish where that lack of control is and what is comfortable and what the limits are, to be able to freely enter that. And this is the dangers of, if you treat that kink as Dom says so, you don't get a say about what the consequences are if not. And it is an interesting film. It is definitely... It's one of those films that feels like it falls into the category of, like, a 50 Shades of Grey, of, like... It is not a healthy depiction of that kind of dynamic, and it's also not... I don't think it's critical of that dynamic in a way that, like... I think there is a very real possibility of a lot of outside people not being presented with exactly why that is bad. In a way that is like, I don't know how I feel about. I think it was an interesting film. It had some fucking baffling choices in its final 5 minutes, involving orgasm sounds overlaid with dog barking that was uncomfortable. It was interesting to see a film, if nothing else, about a woman in power in wanting to engage with those kind of dynamics and wrestling with the guilt involved in that. In the feelings of guilt around, I have this kink and I feel a bit guilty about the fact I have it. So interesting film, and not sure if it's one I would necessarily recommend, but it was a very well-made film. If nothing else, it was a very well-made film. What about you? You watched anything else this week?
No, that's it for me.
I've watched one other thing I'll quickly talk about.
Yes.
I've started watching a new anime I had not watched before. I've started watching an anime called Kaiju Number 8.
Kaiju Number 8, please.
Kaiju Number 8, please. So this is set in a world where, like, kaiju attacks, your big giant monster attacks, your Godzilla, your Mothra, whatever, have become relatively commonplace. Something happened and suddenly giant monsters are a thing that happens.
They've become passé.
They've become, like, enough of a thing that, like, people have specific, like, kaiju home insurance, and... You know, there is a job position that is never short of work, that is disposal crew that goes in when one of these things has been killed to, like, dismantle it and take apart all the pieces of it.
I thought you were going to be talking about, like, cleaning up kaiju poop.
I mean, there is part of that. It's one of these things got exploded by the military. Now you've got to go, like, chop the thing up into parts we can burn, get rid of all the entrails, whatnot. And we're following this main character who is part of the cleaning up after these things have been killed crew, but he's always wanted to be one of the people who goes out and fights the kaijus. He promised his childhood friend back in the day, one day we'll both go out there and we'll both fight these things together, and she successfully got into the career path and is, like, basically the world's #1 killer of kaijus. He did not get in, he didn't pass the exams, he failed, he's cleaning up their entrails and whatnot. And I still don't know exactly what went on. At one point, he is, like, being chased by a giant kaiju, and he manages to escape, and then when in hospital, injured post this event, a tiny little monster thing, like a little talking kaiju thing, but it's small, flies into his hospital room, and goes, "Finally, I found you," and flies down his throat. And now he has the ability...
he's the kaiju.
Now he has the ability to transform into a kaiju.
But he's already got a tiny person piloting him.
Maybe? Question mark? But he can now become like a person-sized kaiju that is maybe the most powerful kaiju in the world. He's designated Kaiju Number 8 because kaiju that are significant enough of a threat to, like, world stability, like, will get a designation. He is, like, the 8th time one has been this powerful and threatening to the state of the world. And he's like, no, I'm just a little guy. I'm not here to destroy anything. But he manages to successfully now, after many years of failure, get into the going and fighting kaijus training academy. But he's got to keep the secret that he can turn into a kaiju, which a couple of people have already found out about because he's occasionally transformed to defeat a kaiju to save someone's life and been like, shh, don't tell anyone. But all sorts of mystery going on. Why can he do this? And some other kaiju that can talk are starting to appear. What's up with that?
Ooh.
The fight scenes are gloriously animated in it. There's some gorgeous fight scenes.
Nice.
The main cast of characters are very likable. They are very endearing very quickly. Very root-forable. I'm having a fun time watching it. There's a lot of question marks right now about where it's going, but I am, if nothing else, having fun with the world building of the kaiju fighting squad and the general dynamics and the building of the mystery has been very fun.
Yay!
So I've not watched a huge amount of it, but I'm enjoying what I've seen so far.
Yay!
You seen anything else?
That's it for me.
Well then.
Time for this. Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, it's tiring pretending not to be an asshole.
Right?
Like, pretending to be, I love the employees, I love the workers, blah, blah,
Family,
blah,
blah, blah.
So bloody tiring.
I love money.
I love
That's what
money.
I love.
Yeah, I should just be allowed to say I love money.
I love money.
Right?
Fuck everyone.
Right. So, I have been wondering, do you think, is it possible that maybe we could get away with just not doing the whole facade anymore?
Right.
Like, we could just make the fact that we hate everyone and, like, are just assholes a lovable, fun, quirky, humanizing personality trait.
I mean, I love that about you.
Yeah, I love it about you. Like,
So, I mean, surely, other people will love it about us.
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, can we get away with, like, we're the company run by those lovable assholes? Like, they're not constrained by corporate legalese. They say it how it is, and how it is they hate all of us.
Yeah.
And think of us as nothing but money sacks.
Yeah, I do, in fact, think about them as nothing but money sacks.
Yeah.
Just wallets I haven't dipped into yet.
Exactly. So, I don't see how it could go wrong.
Mask off.
I think we go mask off. How could it go wrong?
It couldn't. You are a fucking genius.
I know. Oh god. Quick, let me tweet. My account got hacked.
JK,
LOL.
Oh, the president retweeted.
Oh.
The Brambles family have been making soups beloved by the world for 75 years. Many generations have enjoyed a hearty bowl of our nutritious soup, and family has been at the heart of everything we do. That's why, in these unprecedented times, we're bringing you a whole new range of soups for your family. Tungsten minestrone, carrot and C4, and cream of nitroglycerin. Because there's evil on the streets, You need something filling to take out those nuts. Rumbly tummies. Take those rumbly tummies out. Bramble's Ballistic Soups. Soup for your family.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brushel Justice Warriors.
Brushel Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Larry. Right, Larry. How you doing?
Yeah. I've had better years, mate.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's only January, but
It's only January.
Yeah, you doing okay, mate?
I'm doing
Yeah.
as best I can.
Yeah.
It's been a weird day today, if I'm honest. I've had a degree of people reaching out to me actively to tell me how fucked things are. Not to check if I'm doing alright with the state of the fuckness of the world, but to go, have you seen shit's fucked?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that, you are one of those people that generally people come to quite often and be like, hey, I noticed a thing that's pretty fucked up.
Well, yeah, this wasn't even that. This was just people going, you should be nervous about the general state of how bad things are for you. I'm like,
Thanks, I am.
I do not need, my catastrophizing does not need any help worrying about the state of things. Trust me, I've read how bad things are going.
Yeah.
And like, this is a thing that like, I've been seeing this happen to a lot of trans folks today. A lot of trans folks, basically in the wake of the election that's just happened in the US.
Yeah.
Not getting the "Are you doing okay?" message, but getting the "Trump did XYZ, time to panic" message. And like, some of those are actively unhelpful. Like, some of those I've seen, it's like, people going, "Did you see that Trump made being trans illegal?" It's like, no, he didn't do that.
No.
He did a handful of things that are shitty and terrifying. And
But
not
they will
good.
take time to come into force.
They will, and they are, it is that, if nothing else, like, you don't need to tell trans people that shit is fucked. They know shit is fucked.
Yeah.
But also,
I've been very aware for a long time.
but you don't need to exaggerate and catastrophize how bad things are either,
Yeah.
because, look, if your message to a trans person right now is you're being made illegal, that is not a survivable message. Like, what you need to do is, shit is gonna get, like, if you're gonna acknowledge it, go, shit is bad and I see that, what can I do to help? But also, making sure that message of shit's fucked is, it's fucked in specific ways, let's fight back against them, not it's like saying, trans people are illegal now, basically comes across as saying you've already lost, the fight's over. And that's really fucking depressing to hear when it's not fucking
Especially
true.
from people who claim to have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, it's tiring. It makes already kind of tiring news more tiring,
Well, yeah, mate, yeah. Depends how, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. Good luck, mate. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Right, I think I'll go and have a lie down in a dark room.
Sounds needed.
Yeah.
So, Laura,
Yes.
where people find other thing you do?
Laura K. Buzz, pretty much everywhere on the internet. Laura K. Buzz on Blue Sky, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitch, on all the things. Find me on all the places. Stuff I've got up on YouTube at the moment. I did an episode about the Switch 2 Joy-Cons being used as mice. There's another one going up about the top USB-C port on the Switch 2 possibly having some implications for portable accessibility controller usage. Go check those out. Go check out Twitch Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays if you want to see me doing babysitting mama and cooking mama speedruns at the moment. What about you? Where are you out on the internet?
Well, I can be found. I've got a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, JANEIAC. You can find all the things I've done there. You can also help support me at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. As little as $1 a month really helps out, and especially in these early months of the year. And also you can find me on Humans Holler at News. You can find both of us on one of the upcoming Humans Holler at News. We talk about entertaining news articles and have fun chats with Laura Nealing and me. And that's it for me. So Laura,
Yes.
will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.